Welcome to this very special edition of the KAJ Masterclass Live, the show which ensures that you profit from your time spent here with experts, either through their industry insights, information, or simply learning from them. And today we have Dr. Emily Levy. She is an education expert, and the founder and director of EBL Coaching, a specialized tutoring program that offers individualized one-on-one, home, virtual, and on-site instruction using research-based multi-sensory techniques. Welcome to the show, Dr. Emily.
Thank you for having me. I'm so happy to be here today.
You are welcome. Welcome to the show. Welcome to India in this online form. And I'm sure not just in India, but a lot of people across the globe will benefit from what we are going to talk right now. We'll be talking about how to help special education students thrive. We'll talk about all this. But first, Dr. Emily, if you can help us understand a bit more about yourself, your background, your journey, so that people know better who they are listening to.
Absolutely, I'd be happy to. I actually grew up in the field of special education. My mother was the founder of a school for students with learning disabilities down in Florida. So I spent much of my childhood working at her school and working with different students. And then formally, I ended up receiving my undergraduate degree from Brown University. I then received my master's degree in special education, as well as my doctorate degree in general education. I started out personally working one-on-one with students who had various types of special education needs, learning disabilities, ADHD, autism, all types of challenges academically, and eventually formed EBL Coaching, where we now have a wonderful team of learning specialists that specialize in providing one-on-one tutoring to special education students, not just in New York or in the United States, but we actually work with students worldwide now through our online platform.
Right. Wonderful, Dr. Emily. So we want to understand for the outside world beyond US, how exactly does this special education happen? Is it, what is the model? Is it like the private institutes are given that responsibility, or is it that the public sector also has the same facility? How does it work for on the ground?
Sure. Well, that's a great question. In terms of what we do at EBL Coaching, it is all one-on-one and it's all academic based, meaning we use all research-based multisensory techniques that are specifically catered to the needs of each student. And we work with kids as young as the preschool level and we go all the way up through the adult level. With that said, if a student has a diagnosed learning disability, autism, ADHD, any kind of diagnosed special education need, then they're really entitled to receive services at their school to help them with what's appropriate given their need. Sometimes, unfortunately, students don't always receive the right support at school, but really they are entitled to receive special education services if they have a classification.
Okay, so this is available for private school students as well as public school students?
We work with all students, students who attend private schools, public schools, parochial schools, students who are homeschooled. Really, any kind of student can access the kinds of one-on-one services that we provide.
Okay, so do you provide it on location if it is a student from, say, public school? Do you provide it in their school, or is it provided in their own homes, or do you provide it remotely?
That's really up to the family. We offer a variety of different modalities. We have 2 different learning centers where families are welcome to bring their child and we provide the tutoring there. We can also have a tutor go to the child's home or go to the child's school if the school allows it. And then, of course, we also do virtual tutoring 7 days a week, and we're able to help so many students worldwide with that virtual option.
Right, right, Dr. Emily. So these students, these children, they are mostly, in what age group? Is it only children, or is it adults also who are trying to get themselves educated?
We do work with adults as well. I would say the bulk of what we do is grades preschool to grade 12. That tends to be just the bulk of, I would say, where the need is, where our specialty is. With that said, though, we also work with adults who have learning disabilities, who have attentional challenges, or who need help with a skill like reading or writing. So we do work with adults as well.
Right, Dr. Emily. Now, in terms of, you see, these students, these children mostly are from various different backgrounds. Uh, their their special needs might be different. They must be getting different sort of care. How do you ensure that these children who are from different backgrounds, you are able to cater to their needs? They may be challenged in one thing, another person may be challenged in another, and then the third person may be, they are all coming with different challenges in their lives, but trying to gather all the skills that is possible through institutions like yours. But how do you actually implement it on the ground? It's like a lot of context switching happens, or is it like it is not?
That's a great question. And of course, with the students that we work with, they all have different needs, different backgrounds. They're so unique. And that's why we like to start with an initial evaluation, typically done by me, where I meet the student, I gauge what their academic needs are in different skill areas. If they happen to have any evaluations done, I like to read those as well, so that I can really gain a picture of who that child is. And then from there, I match the tutor with the student with one of our tutors who specializes in what that child needs the most help with. And we come up with very much of an individualized tutoring plan to specifically address what their needs are. And sometimes as we work with them, their needs may change, they may evolve, and we're able to tweak the methods and tweak our approach as we get to know each child.
Right. And tutoring plan, as in you teach them things about academics, or you teach them about skills, about something else. Help us understand that part.
Sure. Our specialty really is building academic skills. So we help students build skills in reading, meaning sounding out words, reading fluency, reading comprehension, spelling, writing, math, both in terms of word problems and computation. And then we do a lot of work with what we call executive functioning skills, the skills like planning, organization, time management, note taking. So really it's everything in that academic realm is what we specialize in helping students develop.
Absolutely. Now, in terms of, you see, a lot of students are trying to come up. And now you see, AI has also come in. In artificial intelligence, they are in several places it's not allowed in schools in their curriculums, but in special needs children, AI can be very, very helpful. How do you evaluate that? For is it allowed for students with special needs, or is it also not allowed for them? And what is your understanding of this? Can it help? Can it not help? Is it already helping?
Sure. It's a tricky question to answer, and it's one that's constantly evolving as AI develops. I would say that there are aspects of it that can really be used to the benefit of special education student. Of course, we want to make sure we avoid them cheating or them just submitting an essay that was developed by AI. So we try to really pull from the beneficial side of it. For example, the student is writing a sentence. AI might help them come up with suggestions for words that they may be trying to use and can help really with their writing skills. I've actually been working on developing a writing software program that integrates AI, where we teach students how to build their writing skills, and then AI is utilized to score their writing and to give them feedback back on how to best improve their writing. So I think if AI is used appropriately and if students receive guidance in how to use it, there really are many benefits that can help students with special education needs.
Right. And what are the challenges do they face? They are already facing challenges in their own aspect, but in terms of getting the skills that you are trying to, what are the challenges they face? How do you deal with those challenges so that the mission is accomplished for both the sides?
Sure. Well, I think when working with special education students, there's not always just one method that works for them. Sometimes we have to try different methods in order for them to grasp a new concept. Some kids need a lot of repetition and practice with one specific skill before they're able to move on. Sometimes they might grasp one skill quickly, but then for another skill, they need a lot more practice and repetition or a different strategy taught to them. So everything is about being diagnostic and prescriptive and really individualizing the approach and the instruction to each student's specific needs.
Right, right, Dr. Emily. Now, one thing is about parents here. Parents are also busy people. They have their jobs to look after, to take care of this, and also this needs, to bring their children to such institutes or whatever it is.
Mm.
What is this whole thing? How is it the trend? Is it that parents are able to fully utilize all the aspects of support that is available to their children, or is it that they are so also not able to understand this whole thing, and they are doing whatever, but there is so much to else that they can advocate for their children, do for their children, which is already existing, but they are not aware about. What's your take on this?
My take on it is that parents should always be their child's best advocate. And I think sometimes it's easy to assume that when a child is at school, they're going to receive all of the right support and all of the right instruction based on their needs. But unfortunately, I don't think that we as parents can always make that assumption. So I think it's really important to always advocate for your child. If a parent is noticing that their child is struggling at school or struggling to complete their homework at home, they should always reach out to the child's teachers and see if there are any accommodations that they can build in to help their child thrive. It may very well be that their child needs to be evaluated to see if maybe something deeper is going on, like a learning disability or attention deficit disorder or something around those realms. And then if they do go through the evaluation and they do receive a diagnosis, they should always stay on top of making sure that their child is receiving the appropriate services and is thriving and is doing as well as they possibly can, given any limitations that they may have.
Right. So your institute, EBL, do you provide only education, or also within education you also train them, give them some skills so that later on when they are when they need to, they can also be fit for the employment market? Does it work like that?
Sure. I mean, the bulk of what we do really is one-on-one academic support. However, for many students, especially as they get older, sometimes we do bring in life skills, like we might help them search for a job. We might help them write a cover letter, a resume, practice skills like interviewing. So sometimes we do build that in, especially for the older students that we work with.
Right. And what about EBL coaching? Is it how different is it than others? Or because it was founded by your by your mother or father, you said?
No, I
And
founded EBL Coaching. My mother founded a school in Florida, which was separate than EBL Coaching. Our specialty is tutoring.
right, right, right. You exactly. So is what happens to that school? Is it that you are providing more coach or more facilities to your mother's school, or that does that exist anymore?
Sure. So my mother actually sold her school many years ago, but since then she has actually started her own tutoring program in Florida. So we do have two separate entities. We follow a similar approach, and something that I think makes both of our centers unique is that we use all research-based multisensory techniques that are very much catered to the needs of each student. So we're not just homework helpers, we're not just general skills tutors, but we're really highly specialized, highly individualized tutoring that we provide, again, using these research-based multisensory techniques.
Right, right. How different is it than other schools of the same nature, or do you have to maintain same level of services that other coaching institutes like EBL are in other parts of your locality?
Well, we're really very different than many other tutoring organizations. Some focus on homework help, some have their own curriculum that they use, some focus on test prep. We pull from about 22 different research-based techniques that are individualized to each student's needs, which again is why we like to start with that initial assessment and then put together that individualized learning plan that specifically meets the needs of every single student.
Right, right. There's much to learn and understand about these issues, Dr. Emily, and I'm sure there is much can be learned from your book. You have written a couple of books. I want to understand about these books. What are these books for? You have written Strategies for Study Success, and another book is Flags and Stars, Multi-Sensory Math. How can students make the best use of these books?
Sure. So these workbook series are actually student workbooks. They're individual student workbooks. The Strategies for Study Success workbook series is a 17-part student workbook series that teaches students specific strategies for reading, comprehension, writing, test taking, note taking, and executive functioning skills. Then the next workbook set is the Flags and Stars Multisensory Math program. Again, student workbook programs. And that series covers foundational math skills, addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, fractions, and so forth, and uses very much of a multisensory approach. It integrates lots of manipulatives and repetition. And then I've also written an additional workbook series called the Flags and Stars Orton Gillingham Student Workbook Series. Again, they're all student workbooks that students can use, and those focus more on core reading skills and how to decode, how to sound out words effectively when reading.
Right, right, Dr. Emily. One last question I want to understand is, do you think there is more that can be done, but because of resource constraints or any other constraint that is not available as of now, but that could be good for the students if it is done? If there's anything you can talk about.
Sure, absolutely. I do. I think that many of the research-based techniques that we use that are so effective for students could also be used at schools and be integrated into the classroom. So I think if teachers had the opportunity to have more professional development, to learn about more of these effective methodologies and how to implement them in the classroom, I think it could help so many more students than what we're able to do now.
So what's the hassle there? Means it's a good idea. They can certainly, but is there a reluctance towards it, or is it the lack of resources?
I think a lot of it is the lack of resources, or maybe channeling the resources in the appropriate ways, but it's so effective and it's such an important way to help so many more students.
Right. There is much to learn about these things, Dr. Emily, and I'm sure a lot of people would like to learn and understand about these things. A lot of parents would like to understand about these things. So what is the best way for them to connect with you?
Thank you. The best way to connect with us is through our website, which is eblcoaching.com. E like Edward, B like boy, L like Larry, coaching.com. There's lots of articles that I've written, of course, different podcasts that I've been on, and then lots of information about our services. So it's a wealth of information, and I certainly encourage parents to take a look at it if they can.
Wonderful. With this, it's a wrap on this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live. Thank you so much indeed for joining us.
Thank you.